Alright, so last time in this book, there was a great earthquake, and the two guys who were in the jail had escaped because the walls had fallen out because of the earthquake, and everybody else on the island pretty much died. And then there was a lady who was trapped on a roof named Marie Devonshire, and she was calling for flambe. Apparently everybody knew Marie Devonshire. She was apparently the finest piece in Port Royal. She was about 18 years old, and she was blonde, and she came from London, and she was in jail. Okay, so they had rescued her. So that's the first part of the prologue. I'm going to read the second part of the prologue. We don't have very long before we get to part 1. The two men rushed to her aid. Ben squeezed beneath the far end of the roof and began to free Marie's tiny feet and shapely legs. "Why, you're not even hurt," he said happily. "Only your skirts are caught. Then pull them free," begged Marie. "That's liable to make the whole roof fall down on both of us. I certainly wouldn't want that." Sheffield quickly looked around and found a large machete among the rubble. He tossed it to Ben, who had climbed out from beneath the roof. "Here," he said with a laugh, "go after her skirts." It will be nothing new to Marie. Ben climbed back under the fallen roof and began hacking at Marie's skirts and petticoats. "Careful, lad," she admonished. "Don't scar my legs." Ben's face was directly between Marie's knees. She twisted and struggled as he dug the machete into the cheap fabric. "Move this way, Marie." Marie moved to her left. "There, that side's done. Now the other one. Hurry, please." "I am hurrying," he grumbled in a lower voice. He added, "Why does she have to wear such sweet-smelling perfume?" "It's loose, Ben," she cried. "It's loose." "Fine. Now, very easy. You scoot down towards me. Try not to bump anything." Ben climbed out, then helped Marie to her feet. Her skirts were ripped on either side clear up to her hips, and her long legs were exposed. "How can I ever thank you two?" she asked, wiping her face on the sleeve of her blouse. The two men looked at one another and smiled, but made no comment. "Whatever's happening, have we all gone mad?" "Earthquake," replied Sheffield. "Now come, we're headed for the mountains." "All my things," wailed Marie. "What about them?" "What about them?" "Forget about your things. Be glad you're alive," said Sheffield. "Now come, if you're coming." Softly crying to herself, Marie fell in step behind the two men and the donkey. "My beautiful things," she sighed. "My dresses, my fans, my tortoiseshell combs." They began the arduous climb up the side of one mountain and set in the ring of gently sloping plains, which varied in depth from forest walls on one side to dry savannas on the other. They passed through a deep gully of ferns and a belt of tropical palms and Jamaican hardwood. And in and out of the bushes darted an assortment of hummingbirds, fairly crazed by the earthquakes. The birds flew against the trunks of the trees and fell stunned to the ground. An army of land crabs crossed the refugees' path seeking salvation. The donkey whinnied and balked, but Sheffield smacked his rear and urged it on. The higher they got, the less the ground that shook beneath their feet. Marie stopped whimpering about her fancy things. Sheffield cut a path through a tangle of bamboo that was abrasive as a barbed wire fence. They came upon a small spring surrounded by blood red poinsettias. Rested. I think there needs to be a comma somewhere in here. Stopped and rested, and then drank. What do you suppose is happening below? Asked Marie in hushed tones. Who knows or cares? Replied Sheffield. The earthquake certainly was an advantage to us. Ben's hair and face were dripping wet from the cool spring water. He nodded in happy agreement. Marie, who was none too bright, looked at one man, then the other. You were the two men they were going to hang. Sheffield shrugged, turned away from Marie, and undid his breeches to urinate against a vine of bougainvilleas. I don't know what that is. Bougainvillea. I'm going to say bougainvillea. Bougainvillea. I don't know. Anyways. Marie scowled at his obvious lack of respect for her. She had been the prettiest whore in Port Royal and had always garnered a crude respect from those she chose to lie with. Right. Sounds very much like girls today. Oh, I ain't gonna say nothing. Anyways. Garnered a crude respect from those she chose to lie with. I'm tripping over that. Anyways, she was about to give vent to her outrage when it suddenly occurred to her that she had lain with both of them, Sheffield and Ben, on several different occasions. It was no good putting on airs now. Without any other word, she plucked a ripe mango from its tree and bit into it. Sheffield slapped it from her hand. Are you out of your mind, Marie? If you start out by eating fruit, you'll get the dysentery. Sure as anything. We don't intend to lag behind while you're squatting in the bushes. Marie blushed and lowered her head. There's no need to speak so rough to me, Flambe. I may be a whore, but I have my feelings. To HE double hockey sticks with your feelings. Let's get moving. He pointed towards the spring. Look, the water is beginning to ripple. We've grown so used to the shaking beneath our feet, it seems natural. Come, hurry, both of you. He gave the donkey's buttocks a whack, and then they scurried to even higher ground. 20 minutes later, puffing and gasping for breath, they came upon a native hut made of bamboo palm fronds and mud. Excuse me. They called out, but no one answered. Must have been scared off, said Sheffield. Let's look inside. We must find some things we'll be needing. Should we take the time? Asked Marie. Of course we should take the time, woman. How do you expect to cook up a meal without a pot? How do you expect to mend your shoes if you don't have a knife or a needle and thread? Sheffield went inside, found several large, deep baskets, and began filling them with cooking utensils and other necessities. Don't just stand there, you two. Look for clothing or a blanket. It gets cold at night up here. Here's some flints, said Ben. Good, muttered Sheffield. And some dried meat, exclaimed Marie, picking strips of the dry red stuff from the walls. What do you suppose it is? Sheffield sniffed. Parrot, most likely. Ugh, they ate parrots. That's sad. A little chewy, but the taste isn't so bad. Better to line your stomach with that than the fruit. Better to line your stomach with that than fruit. They loaded the donkeys back and continued on their journey. Some time later, they reached a plateau from which they could see the entire Port Royal spread out beneath them. It's gone, cried Marie. Oh my God, it's gone. The two men looked past the vegetation and towards where the infamous city had once stood. The square and most of Port Royal has sunk into the sea. Marie knelt and crossed herself. Jesus, God in heaven, she said, half in exclamation, half in prayer. Ben was moved to tears, thinking not of his captors, but of all his friends and drinking companions who had perished. Sheffield wiped his chin and hoisted a goat bladder full of dark island rum to his mouth. To H-E doubles hockey sticks with them all. He's so mad. He laughed maniacally. To H-E double hockey sticks with them all. We survived, god darn it. Except he said the other word. We survived. Part 1. Soon to come.